shareholder communications objectives. Visit our website at commandfinancial.com and learn how we're evolving, not only with the times, but also with your business requirements. Command Financial, redefining financial printing.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong.
Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
What?
Welcome to Nuffield Health Battersea, a gym built around you. You get regular health MOTs to create a plan that works for you, with physios and personal trainers on site. You'll find a wide range of equipment and classes, and our expert team will support you to get the most out of your health, fitness, and your membership. Join today to get the rest of the month free. Search Nuffield Health. Specialists in you. 12-month commitments only. Facilities stated are in most gyms. Visit nuffieldhealth.com/terms.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, keep me out the cold jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, East London jobs, West London jobs, extra hour in bed jobs, startup jobs, late start jobs, get home in the daylight jobs, banking jobs, building jobs, flexible working on a Friday jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
This is not a cat. This is not a rocket. And this is not a sale. That's right. At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30 gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract tying you down, why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
At Argos, our new range is out now, online and in our new catalogue. Transform your home with our new stylish furniture and homewares range. And join in the fun with this season's latest tech and toys. With Argos, you're good to go. Subject to availability.
Bloomberg Television. Here's Taylor Riggs.
Joining us from Burr's Lab to discuss is CEO Dr. George Scangos. You're one of the latest biotech companies working on a vaccine. What is your path? How is your technology different than some of the other biotechs out there?
We have a very powerful and productive platform to identify antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that circulate in your blood and protect from viral infections and can help overcome viral infections. And we're able to isolate antibodies from patients who have recovered from an infection, manufacture them, modify them a bit, and then make them available to other patients.
We talk a lot about SARS back in 2003. What have you learned that can help you glean some information about this strain of coronavirus and, more importantly, how to get a vaccine out of it?
We have a number of antibodies that we had isolated against SARS and also against MERS. Those are both coronaviruses. Our scientists had anticipated that it was only a matter of time until the next coronavirus outbreak. So we had already been testing those antibodies for their ability to neutralize other strains of coronavirus. Not all of them, but some of them have the ability to neutralize strains of coronavirus isolated from bats, from civets, from other animal species. And so there's a possibility that they could also neutralize the new Wuhan virus.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moss. Moscow. Stocks are sliding along with U.S. stock index futures as investors mull mounting evidence that the coronavirus epidemic is disrupting the world's second largest economy. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures down 22 points. Dow futures down 182. NASDAQ futures down 56. The DAX in Germany's down 1%. 10-year Treasury up 5/30 seconds. Yield 1.56%. And the yield on the 2-year 1.40%. NYMEX crude oil down 1.9% or $1.03 to $52.30 a barrel, and COMEX gold is up 0.6% or $8.90 at $15.84.90 an ounce. The euro 1.1017 against the dollar. British pound 1.3022, and the yen is at 108.92. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. The Senate impeachment trial of President Donald Trump adjourned late last night, with Republicans appearing focused on bringing the proceedings to a vote of acquittal, possibly in a matter of days. Odds appear to be dwindling that Senate Democrats will have enough votes Friday to introduce witnesses to the trial. Another day of questioning will take place today. World health officials are expressing great concern that the deadly coronavirus is starting to spread between people outside of China. Bloomberg's John Tucker has more in this live report.
And Michael, the death toll from the spreading coronavirus has risen to 170. The cases in China have jumped over 7,700. India now has reported its first case. The World Health Organization called a meeting of its emergency committee today to consider issuing a global alarm. They'll make that announcement at 1:30 p.m. Wall Street time. Airlines across the world suspended more flights to China. Tesla is expecting a production delay in China. McDonald's and Starbucks, they closed thousands of stores. And Apple is preparing for supply chain disruptions. John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak. Michael.
Thank you, sir. In sports, in the NBA, the Nets won, the Knicks lost, and in the NHL, the Capitals lost. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
All right, Michael, thanks. It's coming up to 5:20 on Wall Street, live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios. This is Bloomberg Daybreak, and we're pleased to have Mark Vittner back with us this morning, senior economist at Wells Fargo. Just heard from John Tucker a second ago some of the economic impact that we're seeing from the coronavirus in China. Is there a risk that along with the spread of the disease itself, that the economic impact could spread as well?
Well, I certainly think the economic impact is going to spread. I'm encouraged that the virus doesn't seem to be as lethal outside of China, at least not yet. So, but I think the economic damage is going to certainly spread throughout the global economy. The world's never really had a time where we've had an economy as large as China outside of the U.S. in the post-World War II era that's faced a challenge like this. And it's, on the one side, it is happening during the Lunar New Year when a lot of things in China would have been shut down anyway, but it's certainly likely to drag on for some time.
Well, what's the best way for businesses to adjust to this? I mean, there have already been adjustments when it comes to supply chains in China with the trade uncertainty and the trade friction between China and the U.S.
Well, there's only so much you can do because if you've got a Chinese supplier, it's going to be hard to build up any precautionary inventory. So I do think we're going to see some supply chain disruptions, and it may be reminiscent of what we saw with the Fukushima earthquake, where we had some supply chain disruptions that impacted the GDP numbers for a couple of quarters. First quarter shaping up to be a very weak quarter. We knew it was going to be kind of soft, and I think there's a lot of downside risk.
We heard from Chairman Powell yesterday opining a bit on how the Federal Reserve could react to this outbreak. What more can the central bank do?
Well, I think that most economists, and including us, were thinking that the Fed was on hold, and certainly at yesterday's meeting, but we were thinking the Fed would be on hold throughout 2020. I think that as the economic damage intensifies, the Fed may take out some downside protection. I think it increases the possibility that they cut interest rates at some point, and Powell gave no hint of that yesterday because they need to see more data, they need to see more evidence, and they've got plenty of time right now. But if we see the situation continue to get worse before the next FOMC meeting, I think it opens the door for a policy response by the Fed.
What did you make of the adjustment to the language when it comes to the inflation framework and moving toward 2% inflation target rather than being near it?
Well, I think that they wanted to be a little bit clearer, and that's one of the things that we've seen under Powell. He definitely favors a clearer language, and near left a little bit of confusion of, hey, are they going to expand the target to 2.5%? And no, the Fed doesn't want to give up the hard-won credibility that they have in establishing an inflation target of 2%. But the 2% is not a ceiling. Powell has said that many times. That late in the business cycle, and we're certainly 10 plus years into the business cycle, the Fed would tolerate inflation somewhere above 2% for a little bit of time without having to tighten policy. But right now, they're more concerned about getting inflation back up toward 2%, which would show that economic growth was back above potential or back at potential at least, and we're not there yet.
Our last minute here, we're getting U.S. GDP numbers out this morning. What could that backward-looking data tell you about what the outlook is going forward, particularly with this health crisis continuing?
Well, most of the intrigue is around trade and inventories, and those variables are incredibly hard to predict because we have less information to base the forecast on than we do the other components. There's a little bit of concern on consumer spending, too, because the core retail sales numbers were fairly soft in the fourth quarter, which is something that we've seen the last couple of years, and it doesn't seem to jibe with what we're seeing with our own eyes. But I think that once we get an idea of where the trade deficit is and where inventories are, that will help us have a better idea of what we're going to see in the first quarter. A lot of economists have been lowering their forecast for the first quarter. Fourth quarter GDP should be somewhere 1.7 to 2.1. We were at 2.1, but the advanced trade numbers that we got earlier in the week suggested there's some downside risk to that. Mm-hmm. But I think that most forecasts in the first quarter are probably going to center somewhere around 1.5%.
All right, got to leave it there. Mark Vittner, senior economist at Wells Fargo, with us this morning. Thanks, as always, for your insights. Futures pointing to a lower open on Wall Street this morning. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The early market indicators are pointing to a significant move lower at the open on Wall Street amid mounting evidence that the coronavirus is disrupting the Chinese economy. Many companies have suspended at least some of their China operations, and economists have started to cut growth forecasts. U.S. tech giants presented a mixed earnings picture after yesterday's closing bell. Facebook's growth is slowing as it faces more restrictive privacy regulations and continued scrutiny from lawmakers and regulators. Microsoft's quarterly sales beat analyst projections by more than $1 billion, fueled by persistent demand from corporate customers seeking to move computing tasks to the cloud. And Tesla delivered a second straight quarter of blowout earnings. CEO Elon Musk also said deliveries of the new Model Y crossover will start by March. That is much earlier than initially planned. Wall Street turned in a little changed close yesterday. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time?
This is not a cat. This is not a rocket. And this is not a sale. That's right. At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30 gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract tying you down, why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
Welcome to Nuffield Health Battersea, a gym built around you. You get regular health MOTs to create a plan that works for you, with physios and personal trainers on site. You'll find a wide range of equipment and classes, and our expert team will support you to get the most out of your health, fitness, and your membership. Join today to get the rest of the month free. Search Nuffield Health. Specialists in you. 12-month commitments only. Facilities stated are in most gyms. Visit nuffieldhealth.com/terms.
Hello, I'm your captain for today's Virgin Atlantic flight. Please drop everything and pay close attention to the following announcement. The sail is now on. Our crew are ready to take your bags and stresses away. The cocktails are ready to serve, the movies are loaded, and we're all set for takeoff to the Caribbean. So, take your seat in our award-winning economy class. We're ready to go when you are.
The Virgin Atlantic sail. Fly amazing for less. For more details, visit virginatlantic.com.
Jennifer from Glasgow writes, I first set eyes on you when my brother brought you home. I wanted you. I didn't care what he'd say. He left the room. We couldn't stop ourselves. Delicious. Apart from the gherkins. Your 2 juicy patties, crisp lettuce, onions, cheese and Big Mac sauce. Utter perfection.
You can now spend even longer with the taste you love with the Grand Big Mac, but only until the 24th of March. Served after 11 a.m, subject to availability, participating restaurants only.
The Grand DFS sale featuring Wallace.
Hello.
And Gromit.
Well, say hello, lad.
Every sofa is made to order.
Buy a speedy Sofa-matic machine.
By hand.
Oh, suit yourself.
So you can have your sofa exactly how you want it.
Made of cheese?
Not that exactly.
Oh, probably a good thing, eh, Gromit? It'd be gone in a jiffy.
The Grand DFS sale is now on.
How about a cushion made of cheese? Or a footstool?
I think I just be myself, let it come naturally. I never try to, go outside the box.
Super Bowl 54, the biggest game of the year, is live on TuneIn Premium. Be there when the Kansas City Chiefs, dreaming of their first championship in 50 years, collide with the San Francisco 49ers' quest to bring a 6th Lombardi trophy to the Bay Area. Wherever you are when the ball kicks off Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, listen to every electric moment of Super Bowl 54 with the NFL on TuneIn Premium. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119. And around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Daybreak.
And it's 5:30 on Wall Street. Good morning. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow. We are just about 4 hours away from the opening of U.S. trading. Let's get you up to date in the news you need to know at this hour. Global stocks are lower as the spread of the coronavirus weighs on sentiment. The death toll has now hit 170, while cases in China surpass 7,700. And the World Health Organization is meeting in Geneva to consider a global alert. We get more from Bloomberg Daybreak Asia anchor Brian Curtis in Hong Kong.
More person-to-person transmissions have occurred outside China. Companies in China are shutting operations, and evidence is mounting the global economy is taking a hit. Asian stocks have slumped to a 7-week low. Now, these recent developments may prompt the WHO to act. What does that mean? Well, the agency would then coordinate government action on the crisis. In Hong Kong, Brian Curtis, Bloomberg Daybreak.
And Brian, stocks in Asia tumbled overnight while the MSCI Asia Pacific Index fell 1.8%. Oil is sliding again with Brent crude now below $59 a barrel. Europe's stock 600 is lower by 0.7%. S&P futures also down 0.7%.
The economic impact of the virus is starting to take hold. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us live now with more. Good morning, John.
And good morning, Karen. Apple, McDonald's, and Starbucks are closing stores. Tesla expects a production delay. Delta Airlines, American, United, Air Canada, and others are suspending flights and cutting service. And in China, cities and provinces are extending the Lunar New Year holiday beyond next week, with some telling businesses to hold off operations until mid-February. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, John, thanks. Outside of the coronavirus, earnings are in focus this morning. Let's start with Deutsche Bank. The German lender saw gains at its investment bank, but overall reported a loss that was worse than estimates. Shares of Deutsche Bank are higher by nearly 2% in Frankfurt.
Tesla had a blowout quarter. The company posted record revenue to record its fourth profit in the last 6 quarters. That is shares of Tesla up 10% in early trading.
And revenue at Microsoft topped estimates by more than $1 billion, rising 14% in the quarter. The gain came from strong demand for cloud products, has shares of Microsoft higher by more than 3%.
And a different story for Facebook this morning. The social network saw its slowest sales growth ever in the fourth quarter, while user gains in the U.S. stalled. Shares are down 7% in the pre-market. Futures are lower, with S&P futures down 21 points, Dow futures down 178, and NASDAQ futures down 56. The 10-year Treasury up 5/32, yield 1.56%, and the yield on the 2-year 1.40%, and the euro 1.1013 against the dollar. Straight ahead, we have the latest world and national news. And this is Bloomberg.
All right, Karen, thank you. It is 5:33 on Wall Street, and Michael Barr has more on what's going on around the world. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. Senate Republican leaders are now signaling they will be able to block new witnesses at President Trump's impeachment trial. Yesterday, Democratic House managers questioned the president's defense that Joe Biden was a legitimate target to investigate in Ukraine. Audible gasps were heard when the president's lawyer said even if Trump wanted that investigation, it is not impeachable. Trump legal counsel Pat Philbin.
If there is credible information of wrongdoing by someone who is running for a public office, it's not campaign interference for credible information about wrongdoing to be brought to light.
Democratic House Manager Zoe Lofgren argued the president used the power of his office for personal gain.
Just as, although this is not a criminal offense, if you attempted murder but didn't succeed, you would not be innocent. The president has attempted to upend the constitutional order for his own personal benefit.
The Q&A portion of the Senate impeachment trial is set to resume this afternoon. Lev Parnas, former Rudy Giuliani business associate, made a trip to Capitol Hill to try and persuade senators to vote for witnesses. Bloomberg's Ed Baxter has the story.
Parnas says he could be a central figure and that he says he has direct information on Donald Trump pressuring the Ukraine to investigate the Bidens to gain release of military aid. He says he and John Bolton need to testify.
My goal is hopefully to look at these senators and have them look at me and see that we need to call witnesses. The truth needs to come out. I'm here. I'm one of the most important witnesses, I think, between me and John Bolton. The two of us put all the dots together. And I want them to see I'm here.
The vote on witnesses is scheduled for tomorrow. In San Francisco, I'm Ed Baxter, Bloomberg Daybreak.
Vanessa Bryant has made her first public comment since the death of her husband Kobe Bryant and their daughter Gianna in Sunday's helicopter crash. She wrote on Instagram, quote, "My girls and I want to thank the millions of people who've shown support and love during this horrific time." Bryant went on to say she is completely devastated. The government says for the first time in 4 years, life expectancy in the U.S. has gone up. Now, the increase is small, just a month. On average, an infant born in 2018 is expected to live about 78 years and 8 months. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Nathan.
Thank you, Michael. Almost 5:36 on Wall Street now. Time for the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update. Here's John Stashauer.
Nathan Novak Djokovic seeking his 8th Australian Open title. He's playing Roger Federer right now in the semifinals, their 50th career meeting, their first of the majors since last year's Wimbledon final, which Djokovic won 13-12 in the 5th set. Right now, Djokovic leads 7-6, 3-2. Meanwhile, we have an American in the women's final, although 21-year-old Sophia Kenin was born in Russia. She grew up in Florida, and she's into the finals after upsetting the top seed Ash Barty. She'll play the Spaniard, Garbiñe Muguruza. She beat Simona Halep. At the Garden, Knicks lost to Memphis 127-116. A fight broke out in the final minute with the outcome not in doubt. The Grizzlies' Jay Crowder stole an inbounds pass, ran back to the three-point line, took a shot. Elfrid Payton didn't appreciate that. He shoved Crowder into the stands. Both players, along with the Knicks' Marcus Morris, ejected. The Knicks coach was Mike Miller.
I mean, I'm going to have to watch and see everything. I mean, the bottom line is
is as we move through that, we lost our composure in there, and we've got to do a better job in those situations. I can't really comment on the whole thing. I couldn't see everything. I did see that, we lost our composure, and it's a process where we've got to do a better job with it.
At Barclays, the Nets paid tribute to Kobe Bryant, beat Detroit 125-115. Spencer Dinwiddie scored 28. Seton Hall keeps winning 64-57 over DePaul. The Pirates' 10th straight win, still unbeaten in the Big East. At Rose Hill, Fordham lost in overtime to St. Bonaventure. Rams only 2 points in the OT. They're 1-7 in the A-10. Battle in New Jersey. St. Peter's top Monmouth 66-63. With the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update, I'm John Stashower. Nathan?
Thanks, John. It's 5:37 on Wall Street, and the latest edition of Bloomberg Business Week is on newsstands now with the cover on Tesla CEO Elon Musk taking drastic steps to silence short sellers. Also in this week's issue, how the latest ESG funds are looking to beat the market. Emily Chasen wrote the story for Bloomberg Business Week.
This story is about quants and how quants are betting, we're good with bad data. We're good with problems in data, and we can use this to our advantage and build sort of models that incorporate all the data and let us trade better.
Read more about this and other stories in this week's edition of Bloomberg Business Week on newsstands now and online at businessweek.com. Terminal customers can receive a complimentary subscription at MAG Go. And listen to Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly right here on Bloomberg Radio and on YouTube, weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. Wall Street time. Get global business, finance, and tech news on your TV, computer, or mobile device. Just visit youtube.com and search Bloomberg Global News. 5:38 on Wall Street, time for the Tri-State Business Report with Bloomberg's Ed Corey. Good morning, Ed.
Morning, Nathan. The New York State Common Retirement Fund says it may divest from coal mining companies that aren't ready to move away from relying on thermal coal for profits. The fund is reviewing 27 miners that earn at least 10% of revenue from mining coal that's burned by power plants to produce electricity. New Jersey has taken a tough stance against employers who misclassify their workers as independent contractors. Governor Murphy has signed a series of bills into law unleashing a host of penalties. A bipartisan group of about a dozen Connecticut lawmakers say they want to update the state's gambling laws, but the Day reports they think the governor's office first has to negotiate a deal on sports wagering with the Mashantucket, Pequot, and Mohegan tribes. That's your Bloomberg Tri-State Business Report. I'm Ed Corey. Nathan?
All right, thanks, Ed. 5:39 on Wall Street. Bloomberg Radio is on the air from San Francisco to New York, London to Hong Kong. Let's check in with our global news team for some of the top stories heard on our 300 affiliate radio stations around the world.
I'm Courtney Donahoe on KFAB in Omaha. Crop giant Archer Daniels Midland got an earnings boost from biodiesel credits.
I'm Gina Cervetti, and on WBBM in Chicago, I'm reporting that Facebook has agreed to pay around $500 million to settle claims its photo scanning technology violated Illinois state law.
I'm Roger Hearing on Bloomberg DAB Digital Radio in London. We're reporting on the Bank of England's decision on interest rates.
I'm Tom Busby, and on KMOX in St. Louis, I'll be reporting on reports that the owner of Monsanto may stop selling the embattled weed killer Roundup to consumers.
I'm Ed Corey on KFBK in Sacramento. I'm reporting Tesla shows no signs of slowing down.
Now, those are some of the stories our 2,700 Bloomberg journalists and analysts are working on this morning around the world. Some other stories we're watching. Apple once again challenging Samsung to be the world's biggest smartphone seller. Industry trackers have released fourth quarter estimates showing the iPhone maker either surpassing or coming close to matching Samsung. That's after earnings from Samsung missed estimates. The company reported a 38% decline in profit as falling memory chip prices weighed on results. Samsung shares fell 3% in Seoul. Futures are pointing to a lower open on Wall Street this morning. You are listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
Rich is just a really good guy. The term good egg isn't enough to describe him. He's also certified organic and free range. Rich puts the cap back on everything. The toothpaste, the olive oil, the shampoo, everything. He lets his 10-year-old nephew beat him at virtual tennis, even though he can straight up slay his 10-year-old nephew in virtual tennis. When the toilet paper is running low, Rich replaces the roll on the actual holder, not just on the back of the toilet. Rich is texting and driving. Rich, no. What are you doing, Rich? I was just telling everyone how great you are. Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopRex.org, a public public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Asset managers who seize change to launch new strategies, add distribution channels, or exploit new technology to re-engineer the investor experience are often rewarded. However, in an industry paralyzed with complexity, few act with agility or decisively. Few run their business strategically. Yet, the most competitive managers in the market know, with the right partner and a flexible operating platform, you can. Go boldly toward change with SEI Investment Manager Services.
I'm Steve Meyer, president of SEI's Investment Manager Services. At SEI, we understand the emerging forces that will define success for asset managers and what firms will need to compete tomorrow. That's why we continually optimize SEI's global operating platform. If your business requires greater agility, our advanced technology, integrated best-in-class systems, and multi-asset expertise can be your catalyst for business transformation.
With SEI Investment Manager Services, you lead the charge in a competitive marketplace. Learn more at SEIC.com/seize change.
This is...
Hey, have you heard? The Mayor of London has launched his latest van scrappage scheme to help tackle London's toxic air. Small businesses or sole traders like me with a polluting van could now get £7,000, which you could use to trade up to a Euro 6 vehicle. And you could get an extra £2,500 towards running costs if you go electric. The scheme is now even easier to qualify for, and it's open to any businesses with up to 50 employees, like mine. So, I'm going to search TfL scrappage to see if I'm eligible and apply. You should do the same. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
This is not a cat. This is not a rocket. And this is not a sale. That's right. At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract tying you down, why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
I've always loved a kitchen experiment, especially smoothies. I've blended all sorts of mad combinations. Strawberry and charcoal, broccoli and chocolate. Not my best, that. But when I test blenders in the Witch Lab, it's not about flavour, it's about performance. Our tests use proper tough stuff, hard ice, strong veg, rough nuts. And the blenders that can hack it are the only ones we recommend for your kitchen.
Which tests harder so you can buy smarter. Visit which.co.uk.
Winter joggers of London, it's chilly. Your legs are caked in mud and your nose is running faster than you. Then, get that heating on. You deserve it. Thanks to Hive Active Heating, you can control your heating wherever you are with a tap of the app, which could save you up to £120 a year by never having to heat an empty home. Buy today and get a free Amazon Echo Dot. Search Hive Heating. Hive services require broadband and Wi-Fi. Terms apply.
Don't miss Super Bowl 54 because you can't watch the game on TV.
Nice hit over the left guard. Touchdown.
Listen to every second of the action with your phone, tablet, computer, or connected device. All you need is a TuneIn Premium subscription.
Search Premium to upgrade today. On air and at TikTok on Twitter. Powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries. This is Bloomberg Radio. Now, a global news update.
The World Health Organization will convene an emergency meeting as the death toll rises from coronavirus. 170 now dead from the outbreak in China. World health officials express concern that the disease is starting to spread between people outside China.
They hold the potential for a much larger outbreak.
Director General of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus. U.S. evacuees from China are on a 72-hour hold at a California military base for evaluation. Airlines and world financial markets are being affected. The Federal Reserve is keeping its benchmark interest rate unchanged, but Chairman Jay Powell says the Fed is monitoring coronavirus. Vanessa Bryant made her first public comment since the helicopter crash that killed her husband Kobe Bryant and has announced the formation of a fund to help support the other families affected by the crash. I'm John Trout.
Tom Keene and Jonathan Farrell.
Is that good for American finance? What is happening with the headcount?
Right, where it counts. Bloomberg Surveillance, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg, the world is listening. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Stocks, U.S. stock index futures are lower this morning. Investors mulling mounting evidence that the coronavirus epidemic is disrupting the world's second largest economy. Bonds are gaining, and China's offshore yuan weakened past 7 for the first time this year before pairing. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures now down 21 points. Dow futures down 173, and NASDAQ futures down 54. The DAX in Germany's down 0.9%. 10-year Treasury up 5/32, yield 1.56%, and the yield on the 2-year 1.40%. NYMEX crude oil is down 1.6% or 87 cents at $52.46 a barrel. COMEX gold is up 0.5% or $8.20 at $15.8420 an ounce. The euro 1.1014 against the dollar. British pound 1.3017. And the yen is at 108.93. And that's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael.
Karen, President Donald Trump's defenders are asserting at his Senate trial that a trade of U.S. military aid for political favors, even if proven, could not be grounds for his impeachment. Trump's Republican defenders are trying to head off witnesses from testifying, especially former National Security Advisor John Bolton. World health officials are expressing great concern that the deadly coronavirus is starting to spread between people outside of China. Bloomberg's John Tucker has more in this live report.
And Michael, the death toll from the spreading coronavirus has risen to 170. The cases in China have jumped to over 7,700. India has now reported its first case. The World Health Organization has called a meeting of its emergency committee today to consider issuing a global alarm. They'll make an announcement at 1:30 p.m. Wall Street time. Now, airlines across the world suspended more flights to China. Tesla is expecting a production delay in China. McDonald's and Starbucks, they closed thousands of stores there. And Apple is preparing for supply chain disruptions. John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak. Michael.
Thank you, John. In sports in the NBA, the Nets won, the Knicks lost. In the NHL, the Capitals lost. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Bloomberg Opinion, informed perspectives, and expert data-driven commentary on breaking news.
It is 5:49 on Wall Street. Time to check in with Bloomberg Opinion. Columnist Elisa Martinuzzi joins us from our London bureau with a look this morning at Deutsche Bank earnings just out. Elisa, good morning. We've seen shares of the stock kind of jumping all over the place in Frankfurt. Now a bit of a surge at the moment. What are investors looking at and seeming to be having a bit of trouble digesting this morning?
Yes, good morning. I think at the outset there might have been a little bit of confusion as regards a bigger loss that they reported than had been expected, and that reflected more restructuring charges and write-downs, relating to anything from real estate to IT. I think, as the morning progressed, the focus has been more on where things have been going right for the bank, particularly the strong quarter it reported for trading and fixed income trading in particular, being ahead, well ahead of what consensus was expecting. Not as strong as the U.S. banks, but equally, the bank isn't as active in some of the areas of fixed income trading that bolstered the U.S. banks. So overall, that progress in the investment bank turnaround being seen as a positive.
Well, what does it say, though, about CEO Christian Saving's restructuring plan, his turnaround strategy? I mean, last year he had talked about refocusing Deutsche Bank on lending. With the outperformance of trading, what does that say?
Well, quite. I think, there are a few areas that I would caution on. I mean, first of all, it's hard to tell at this very moment whether this improvement in the business and the franchise that they're keeping, the fixed income franchise, reflects their retooling of the unit, or whether it was simply the fact that they benefited, like everybody else, from the rising tide. I think that's too early to tell. Equally, you've seen areas of other weaknesses in the bank. You point to, the private bank, for example, which missed expectations. The transaction bank within the corporate entity that also missed expectations. And the advisory business within the investment bank, that's, the bit that advises companies on mergers and underwriting, also coming in a little bit softer. So I think it's a little bit too early to tell whether, this restructuring is actually going to pay off. But, equally, I think there's a relief that with the rising tide in the fourth quarter, Deutsche Bank was able to ride along with it.
We also heard this morning from Savings saying that bonuses will be cut. Can the bank continue to keep slashing costs to improve its top line?
I mean, clearly, bonuses will be, a delicate balancing act. You want to keep your top performers. Having said that, I think we're seeing, cutbacks right across the industry, and that will make it easier for Deutsche Bank to be paring back on that compensation. There's already been quite a lot of turnover, and the sense is that the perimeter that they want to keep is going to be what we see now. And of course, so hanging on to those people is going to be critical.
In our last minute here, what do you think about Saving continuing with his strategy, the turnaround he plans with Deutsche Bank, considering the negative interest rate environment that European banks continue to have to grapple with?
But I think that he hasn't really got much choice, and particularly one thing we haven't spoken about is the de-risking of the bank and the assets that the bank is getting rid of. I mean, that's also progressing a little bit ahead of pace, and he really needs to carry through with that in order to make the bank more stable and be able to generate more sustainable returns.
Bloomberg opinion columnist Elisa Martinuzzi, thank you for this. Much appreciated. And just taking a look at Deutsche Bank stock right now, it is higher by 2.9% in Frankfurt. Karen.
Nathan, thank you. It is 5:53 on Wall Street. It's time for the Bloomberg Law Report, brought to you by American Arbitration Association. International trade or business dispute resolved faster with the International Center for Dispute Resolution, the leader in alternative dispute resolution around the world, ICDR.org. Let's get to the legal stories we're watching this morning from Bloomberg's Jeff Bellinger.
4 Federal Trade Commission attorneys were promoted to new management-level roles as the agency investigates possible anti-competitive conduct by Facebook and other tech companies. Investors in Terraform Global are seeking final approval from a Manhattan federal judge for a nearly $49 million settlement of a securities lawsuit. The investors challenged the company's 2015 initial public offering. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has backtracked on her plan to impose a new gas tax. She will now focus on bonding to fund infrastructure improvements in the state.
Bloomberg Law. Everything you need, all on one legal research platform, including guidance, analysis, and Bloomberg Market Intelligence. Find out more at BloombergLaw.com.
And now another story we're watching. The Supreme Court giving President Trump another win on immigration. The High Court has cleared the White House to start enforcing its new immigrant wealth test designed to screen out green card applicants seen as at risk of dependence on government benefits. In the meantime, the case goes forward in lower courts. For more on the 5-4 decision, Bloomberg's June Grasso speaks with Leon Fresco, a partner at Holland & Knight.
The court as a whole gave no explanation for its order, but Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for himself, and Justice Clarence Thomas said the court needs to curb the power of federal trial judges to issue these nationwide orders that block a government initiative. So is this decision by the court more about the wealth test itself or stopping these nationwide injunctions?
I think there's quite a mix of both there, and I think what may have frustrated the 5 justices is it'd be one thing if there was litigation about, for instance, the applicability of the public charge doctrine to people who didn't speak English, or to people with disabilities, or to people with low credit scores, or something like that, a specific test. But what they expressed frustration about, at least in the concurring opinion, is that the rule was enjoined in its entirety as to every single individual. And they're saying it cannot be the case that every single aspect of this rule is in violation of the statute. And because of that, that challenge that tries to make it completely invalid should be stayed.
In lifting the injunction, part of the test is whether they're likely to succeed on the merits. So does this mean that those 5 justices are most likely going to allow the Trump administration to go forward with this immigrant wealth test when it does come back to the court?
I think that's a very fair assumption to make here. I don't think they would have stayed the rule if they thought there was something wrong with the rule, but I think the complication with this public charge case is that it is so broad that I think the rule is so broad and the application is so broad that I think what the court really wants to do in a rule like this is to say some parts of this seem perfectly reasonable. So, if somebody's been living in public housing for the last 36 months, why aren't they a public charge when they apply for a green card? That might be a very reasonable thing to ask, as opposed to if somebody doesn't speak English, why does that make them a public charge? And so what they're trying to gear the litigants toward is make those kinds of claims, the narrower kinds, about specific classes of people being denied rather than the entirety of the rule. So I think they will uphold the entirety of the rule, but that doesn't speak to the subclasses that are likely to form of types of people being denied under this rule.
And that's Leon Fresco, a partner at Holland & Knight, speaking with Bloomberg's June Grasso. Catch more of that interview, plus analysis of the latest legal news, by subscribing to the Bloomberg Law Podcast or downloading the show at Bloomberg.com/podcast. And attorneys can find exceptional legal research and business development tools at BloombergLaw.com. Futures are lower this morning, and Bloomberg Daybreak continues. This is Bloomberg.
Influential conversations from...
Take the helm and ignite your spirit of adventure with a Sunsail holiday. Relax on a skippered yacht from sunny St. Lucia to the nutmeg-scented shores of Grenada. Or take charge with a bareboat charter along Dubrovnik's glittering coastline. With up to 20% off selected destinations, now is the time to book your Sunsail adventure. Sunsail. See the world differently.
Let's get this right, sir. You didn't see three men dressed as clowns take off in a van with a Renaissance painting because you were distracted by, and I quote, a sporty red compact SUV with a bold mesh grille, a sculpted bonnet with sweeping roofline on diamond-cut alloys.
And beautiful rear haunches.
So, you saw a Jaguar E-Pace. But what about the clowns?
What clowns?
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal attention. Search Jaguar E-Pace.
What do you do to be an everyday superhero, like Dan?
So my baby boy Ben and me just wanted to share what we do to look after the environment. We put the wet wipes we use in the bin instead of down the loo. Would be pretty nasty if that lot ended up blocking our pipes.
Wet wipes and nappies block thousands of pipes every year. Save our sewers, rivers and seas by putting them in the bin, where they belong. Visit thameswater.co.uk/binit. Together, we can care for the environment.
Middle of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
Live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios, this is Bloomberg Daybreak for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. Coming up this hour.
Global stocks fall as the spread of the coronavirus weighs on sentiment.
The death toll climbs to 170, while cases surpass 7,700.
Companies close thousands of stores in China, while more airlines cut service.
Now the World Health Organization meets to consider issuing a global alarm.
It looks like Democratic senators' odds for impeachment trial witnesses are dwindling. Plus, fewer Americans are dying from drug overdoses. I'm Michael Barr. More ahead.
I'm John Stashower in sports. The Knicks lost to Memphis, included a fight in the final minute. The Nets beat the Pistons. It's Federer versus Djokovic at the Australian Open.
That's all straight ahead on Bloomberg Daybreak. On Bloomberg 1130 New York, Bloomberg 99.1 Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 106.1 Boston, Bloomberg 960 San Francisco, Sirius XM 119, and around the world on BloombergRadio.com and via the Bloomberg Business app.
Good morning. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager. Bloomberg Daybreak brought to you by Interactive Brokers. Their margin loans start at 3.06% and decrease for larger loan values. Rates subject to change. Learn more at ibkr.com/compare.
And U.S. futures are falling as the spread of the coronavirus weighs on sentiment. 6:01 on Wall Street. We check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg. S&P futures down 21 points. Dow futures down 175. NASDAQ futures down 55. The DAX in Germany's down 1%. CAC in Paris down 1.2%. FTSE 100 down 0.7%. 10-year Treasury up 6/32, yield 1.56%, and the yield on the 2-year 1.40%. NYMEX crude oil down 1.7% or 90 cents at $52.43 a barrel. COMEX gold is up 0.6% or $9.40 at $15.85.40 an ounce. The euro 1.1015 against the dollar. The yen is at 108.91. Nathan.
And Karen, the death toll from the coronavirus has now hit 170, while cases in China surpass 7,700. Governments are tightening travel restrictions while companies suspend operations in China. We get the very latest now from Bloomberg's Selena Wang in Beijing.
The numbers continue to rise, and here in Beijing, the number of cases has surpassed 100, and you can really feel escalating paranoia and fear here, with more and more stores and restaurants closing down. The World Health Organization, they are reconvening to determine again whether or not this should be labeled as an international health crisis.
And that meeting convenes this morning in Geneva. It will be followed by an announcement from the WHO at 1:30 p.m. Wall Street time.
Meantime, the U.S. is deploying resources to China to assist with the outbreak, and that's according to White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow.
We are sending our best experts from CDC to help them. The Chinese invited us to do so. We'll be working with the World Health Organization to try to get through this as rapidly as possible.
Asked whether the U.S. will restrict flights to China, Kudlow said there's discussion of the matter, but no decision yet.
Well, the economic impact of the virus is starting to take hold as airlines suspend flights and companies close stores in China. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us live now with more. Good morning, John.
Nathan, Apple, McDonald's, and Starbucks are closing stores. Tesla expects a production delay. Delta Airlines, American, United, Air Canada, and others are suspending flights and cutting service. Jeffrey Haley is senior market analyst at Oanda.
People stop going out, people stop travelling, businesses reduce capacity, airlines reduce capacity. All this flows and flows and flows into a negative feedback loop, which slows economic activity and thus economic growth.
And in China, cities and provinces are extending the Lunar New Year holiday beyond next week, with some telling businesses to hold off operations until mid-February. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, John, thank you. Stocks in Asia were hit hard overnight with the MSCI Asia Pacific Index falling 1.8%. Bloomberg's Juliet Sally joins us now from Singapore with the details. Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning, Karen. Taiwanese stocks bore the brunt of the selling in Asia as traders in Taipei returned to work for the first time since the Lunar New Year break. The TAIEX had its biggest one-day drop since October 2018, down 5.8%. In Hong Kong, stocks had a second session of hefty losses, the Hang Seng posting its worst two-day loss in nearly 2 years, while a gauge of property stocks in the city tested lows not seen since August at the height of the protests. In Singapore, I'm Juliet Sali, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, thanks, Juliet. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is also weighing in on uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus.
It's too early to say what the effects will be. Of course, we're monitoring it carefully. There will clearly be implications, at least in the near term, for Chinese output, and I would guess for some of their close-in neighbors, and we'll just have to see what the effect is globally.
Well, the Fed left rates unchanged at yesterday's policy decision while signaling a strong push to fight low inflation. Scott Meinert is Chief Investment Officer at Guggenheim.
The Fed is ready to do whatever it has to do to keep things going. If I had to say, was this a hawkish press conference or a dovish press conference? I think it was slightly dovish.
The Fed tweaked its statement to hint at a stronger push to hit its 2% inflation target, which could mean a potential shift toward easier monetary policy.
Up next, the Bank of England issues its final policy decision under Governor Mark Carney. Right now, traders are split on whether the central bank will deliver a rate cut. Richard Jones is an FX and rate strategist for Bloomberg.
We've got about the same probabilities as a virtual coin toss, so around 50%. The Bank of England will probably deliver a rate cut today because they guided the market higher in terms of the probability. So I think not delivering today would be not really what the Bank of England and any other central bank in the world right now is in the process of doing. They're not there to trip up markets.
We'll bring you live coverage of that decision at 7 a.m. Wall Street time, followed by Mark Carney's final remarks as governor of the Bank of England.
We have lots of earnings to get to as well, starting with Deutsche Bank. The stock's been all over the place this morning. The German lender saw gains at its investment bank, but overall reported a loss that was worse than estimates. That has shares of Deutsche Bank up nearly 2.5% in Frankfurt.
Here in the U.S., Tesla had a blowout quarter. The company posted record revenue to record its fourth profit in the last 6 quarters. The forecast also impressed, with CEO Elon Musk expecting deliveries to surge 35% this year. That is shares of Tesla up 10% in early trading.
And Microsoft's out with a strong quarter as well. Revenue topped estimates by more than $1 billion. The gain came from strong demand for cloud products. Shares of Microsoft are higher by 3.5%.
Quite a different story for Facebook. The social network saw growth slow in the fourth quarter. Facebook posted record revenue, but saw user gains stall in the U.S. It all amounts to the slowest ever sales growth for Facebook. Shares are down 7% in the pre-market.
And shares of Samsung fell 3% after reporting a 38% decline in profit. Falling memory chip prices weighed on results, along with soft demand for PC and cell phone displays. Straight ahead, we have the latest world and national news. This is Bloomberg. And at 6:07 on Wall Street, we bring in Michael Barr for a check of what else is going on around the world. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. Senate Democratic leaders say it appears unlikely they will sway enough Republicans to agree to call new witnesses at President Trump's impeachment trial. Bloomberg's Martin DeCarroll reports.
John Bolton may be the one witness whose testimony Democrats believe even the most ardent Trump supporters cannot easily dismiss. But it doesn't look like either the former national security advisor or anyone else will be called to testify.
It's an uphill fight.
Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer hopes over the next 24 hours the required 4 Republicans break ranks.
Is it more like than not? Probably no. But is it a decent, good chance? Yes.
But if that decent, good chance comes up empty, Republican leaders say they plan to move directly to vote to acquit on the 2 articles of impeachment as soon as tomorrow. In Washington, Martin DeCarroll, Bloomberg Daybreak.
Yesterday, Senate Democrats say they were stunned when Alan Dershowitz, a member of the president's legal team, introduced their defense that a trade of U.S. military aid for political favors, even if proven, could not be grounds for his impeachment.
If a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
Lead House Manager Adam Schiff responded, that means everything's okay as long as the president believes it's in his re-election interest.
And now we're told that's not only okay, but it's beyond the reach of the Constitution. And why? Because abuse of power is not impeachable. Because if you say abuse of power is impeachable, well, then you're impeaching people, presidents, for mere policy. Well, that's nonsense. They're not the same thing.
The wife of late NBA legend Kobe Bryant says she is completely devastated in her first public comment since the helicopter crash that killed her husband, one of their daughters, and 7 others. Vanessa Bryant also announced the formation of a fund to help support the other families that were affected by the crash. According to new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, fewer Americans died from drug overdoses in 2018 than the previous year before, the first decline in 3 decades. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Nathan.
All right, thanks, Michael. 6:09 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg NBC Sports Update. Here's John Stashower.
Nathan, the frustrations of a 13-36 record boiled over at the Garden on a night where fans were chanting, "Sell the team," directed at owner James Dolan. The Knicks, Alfred Payton and Marcus Morris both ejected in the final minute of the Knicks' 127-106 loss to Memphis. The Grizzlies' Jay Crowder stole an inbounds pass, ran back to the three-point line, hoisted up a shot. Payton responded by pushing Crowder into the stands. Here was Morris's interesting take on Crowder.
It is what it is, but when you step back and shoot a three, you know what I'm saying, and try to, low-key like rub it in that they're winning, It's just unprofessional, man. It's soft. His game is soft. He's soft. It's just, just how he carried him, man. It's just very womanlike.
Womanlike. Morris later tweeted an apology for that comment. Peaceful night in Brooklyn. The Nets beat the Pistons 125-115. Spencer Dinwiddie scored 28. No stopping Seton Hall. The Pirates, ranked 10th in the country, beat DePaul 64-57. Miles Powell scored 24. The Pirates are 8-0 in the Big East, 10 straight wins overall. The 50th career meeting between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic. They're playing now in the Australian Open semifinals, and Djokovic, the 7-time Aussie Open champ, is up 2-0. The women's final is set. It includes 21-year-old American Sophia Kenin, ranked 14th. She upset the top seed Ashley Barty of Australia who had the hometown fans on her side, but Kenin moves on to face Garbine Muguruza in the final. The Spaniard knocked off Simona Halep. With a Bloomberg NBC Sports Update, I'm John Stashower. Nathan?
And John, the coronavirus out of China is affecting the sports world as well, particularly in that country. International events postponed, Olympic qualifying tournaments moved elsewhere. Of course, Beijing is hosting the 2022 Olympic Games. Indoor World Athletics Championships are being postponed by a year. The International Ski Federation has canceled the first World Cup races scheduled for the mountain venue where the sport will be held for those 2022 Winter Games. S&P futures lower by 24 points. Dow futures down 204. NASDAQ futures lower by 65 points.
Elite advisory firms rely on BNY Mellon's Pershing to meet the needs of their most complex clients. Karen Novak, Chief Operating Officer at Pershing Advisor Solutions, explains how.
At BNY Mellon's Pershing, we bring customized insights and strategies to help you grow your advisory business and stay on the leading edge. We can support the needs of your most sophisticated clients with a full range of investment and wealth management solutions, from access to private banking to consolidated bank and brokerage custody. Learn why so many of the largest advisory firms turn to us for the financial strength and high-touch service that BNY Mellon's Pershing can provide. Are you well positioned to stand out from your competition?
Learn more at Pershing.com or call 800-445-4467. Brokerage custody provided by Pershing LLC and other services provided by Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC. Both members of FINRA and SIPC. Private banking and bank custody provided by BNY Mellon NA. Member FDIC.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Hey y'all, Jeff Fox.
I spy with my little eye something beginning with B.
Bike.
Nope. Banana tree.
Oh, of course. We must have missed it.
Although you might not be able to see it, your small actions can have a real impact with Shell. Drive carbon neutral by filling up and using Shell Go Plus today. Make the change. Drive carbon neutral. Shell. Go well. See goplus.shell.com/CO2 for details.
Whatever job you're searching for, you can find it on LinkedIn. First jobs, flexible jobs, keep me out the cold jobs, advertising jobs, accounting jobs, HR, PR, even ER jobs, East London jobs, West London jobs, extra hour in bed jobs, startup jobs, late start jobs, get home in the daylight jobs, banking jobs, building jobs, flexible working on a Friday jobs, or even voiceover jobs, which is how I ended up recording this ad. Search millions of jobs on LinkedIn and find one meant for you.
I used to be a bit of a rubbish sleeper. I'd toss and turn all night, and somehow I could never find the comfy bit of the mattress. It was a proper nightmare. That's what brought me here, testing mattresses in the Which Test Lab. We use a custom-made barrel rolling machine to simulate a decade's worth of use. And the mattresses that perform best are the only ones we recommend for your bedroom.
Which tests harder so you can buy smarter. Visit which.co.uk.
Hello, I'm your captain for today's Virgin Atlantic flight. Please drop everything and pay close attention to the following announcement. The sail is now on. Our crew are ready to take your bags and stresses away. The cocktails are ready to serve, the movies are loaded, and we're all set for takeoff to the Caribbean. So, take your seat in our award-winning economy class. We're ready to go when you are.
The Virgin Atlantic sail. Fly amazing for less. For more details, visit virginatlantic.com.
Here's Youssef Kamel El-Din.
Joining us now, Joseph Abraham. He is, of course, the CEO of Commercial Bank of Qatar. Quite a bit of uncertainty in the last quarter in the global macro story. How did that splash through into operating conditions for you?
We think Qatar is one of the strongest economies in the Middle East. And whilst the overall risk perceptions might have changed for the region, Qatar remains well regarded by overseas investors. So we didn't see a very great impact on our operating environment or our business from the uncertainty, and we believe that we have a very strong franchise which allows us to go through any volatility that may occur in the region.
The wave of bank consolidation, Joseph, just continues to accelerate across the Gulf. Last time we spoke, you made it clear that in an M&A scenario, you'd ideally like to be the acquirer and that you be in control of the transaction. Have you made any progress at all? Are you talking to anybody?
Consolidation is not in our strategic plan. We are focusing on organic growth. If anything happens in Qatar, which we've just seen one merger between Varwa and IBQ, I think that needs a meeting of minds, a meeting on valuations, etc. So for us, if and when something happens, we are just trying to strengthen our balance sheet, our earnings stream, so that we are a consolidator rather than a consolidatee.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow at 6:17 on Wall Street. And Bloomberg Daybreak is out on customer terminals, bringing you all the news you need to start your day. Let's get a check of the latest headlines with Hannah George at the Bloomberg Daybreak desk. Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Karen. The World Health Organization may issue a global alarm today. That's after the death toll from the coronavirus rose to 170. Shares of Tesla gaining after blowout earnings. The company said it will ship at least 500,000 vehicles, while free cash flow exceeded $1 billion for the first time. Shares of Facebook and Samsung slumped after earnings. Facebook's revenue grew at the slowest quarterly rate ever, while Samsung's profit declined 38%. And Wall Street's biggest worry is lack of liquidity. That's according to a JP Morgan poll of 650 professional traders. A third of those say diminished market depth is their top concern. For all the news you need to start your day, check out Daybreak on your mobile phone on the Bloomberg Anywhere app. Karen.
Hannah, thank you. S&P futures down 26 points. Dow futures down 220. NASDAQ futures down 69. And the 10-year Treasury up 8/30 seconds. Yield 1.55%. Yield on the 2-year 1.39%. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael.
Karen, the Senate impeachment trial of President Trump adjourned late last night with Republicans appearing focused on bringing the proceedings to a vote of acquittal. Odds appear to be dwindling that Senate Democrats will have enough votes Friday to introduce witnesses to the trial. And as we've told you earlier this morning, the coronavirus continues to spread. Bloomberg's John Tucker has more in this live report.
Michael, the cases in China have jumped to over 7,700. 170 are dead. India has now reported its first case, and the World Health Organization has called a meeting of its emergency committee today to consider issuing a global alarm. They'll make an announcement at 1:30 p.m. Wall Street time. John Tucker, Bloomberg Daybreak. Michael.
Thank you, John. In the NBA, the Nets won, the Knicks lost. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
All right, Michael, thank you. It's just before 6:20 on Wall Street, live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studios. This is Bloomberg Daybreak. Want to dig into the tech earnings we saw yesterday. There are winners and losers to get through. Ivan Feinseth joins us now, Chief Investment Officer at Tigris Financial Partners. And it's tough to deny the big winner from yesterday's results, Ivan, is Tesla. Many analysts are calling this a blowout quarter. Is the electric vehicle maker on a firmer footing for continued profit growth, in your view?
Yes, it is. They had a very profitable quarter. They now are looking to exceed 500,000 cars a year, up from a little over 300. They got the Y coming into production toward the end of this year, and they are sustainable. Everybody was concerned at the beginning about the cash burn. They're not long burning cash. They are generating a significant amount of cash. Everybody was concerned about the ramp up of production. Production is ramping up nicely, and everybody was concerned about at some point the fall off in demand, and demand remained strong. And they continue to have a huge first mover advantage in electric cars. And everybody was concerned about increasing competition, and demand remains strong for their cars, and they do make a phenomenal car. There's nobody who would disagree about the quality of the car, while a lot of people do debate about the valuation of the stock.
Now, on the other side of the coin, Facebook posted another double-digit fourth quarter revenue result, but the stock is getting hammered this morning. What's the disconnect here?
Well, this pattern has happened before. At one point, the company was growing over 50% a year. Mark Zuckerberg said, we can't grow at 50% a year forever. It's going to come down to 30%. And the company grew at 30%. The stock sold off. They consistently grew at 30%, and the stock then regained and went higher. Now he said that the growth is going to slow. It's 25%. 25% is still incredibly strong. They still gain monthly active users. They're still gaining advertising revenue. So, look at the difference here. Year over year, 25%, stock selling off. Microsoft had a great quarter. Year over year revenue, 14%. So everybody's applauding the 14%, which is good, and I really like Microsoft. And they seem to be disappointed in the drop from 30% to 25%. So I think the sell-off in Facebook is a huge buying opportunity.
So do you think that that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg needs to be more open about the direction he sees for advertising revenue from Instagram and WhatsApp?
I think that he has been one of the most open and honest CEOs from the beginning. I think the day the company went public, he made the transition from an entrepreneur to a CEO, and he's been a phenomenal CEO. He has said everything, exactly what would happen and has happened. For example, he said that user engagement actually should decline, and it's about quality of engagement, not quantity of engagement. He's been he's called it as it has happened, probably clearer than any CEO of any other large tech company.
You mentioned Microsoft earlier and the double-digit growth there as well. A lot of focus on the growth in cloud computing, but Amazon is still the big elephant in that room, isn't it?
Yes. I like Amazon too. I don't know. Again, you see when growth declines from a huge level, but Amazon also continues to invest in the business, also continues to grow. So Amazon has been the worst performing stock over the past 12 months or 18 months of the big tech stocks, and I think that has the most upside. We saw it in Google. Google lagged for a long time, and then all of a sudden it kicked in the high gear, and Google started making new all-time highs. So I think you will see eventual gains in Amazon.
And of course, Amazon reports later on today. In our last 30 seconds here, do you see reason for the stock to perform better with those results coming out?
Well, I think you'll see a very strong holiday season. The one area where online, still 90% of shopping takes place in, brick and mortar stores and malls. And if you go to the mall, it's packed and crowded. So I think it confirms that. But where online sales does the best is in the holiday season. And we had a record holiday season. It was year over year up around 4% total, with online significantly increasing more than that. So I think we'll have a great holiday season, and cloud continues to grow.
All right, Ivan, as well. All right, thanks for this. Much appreciated, Ivan. That's Ivan Feinseth, Chief Investment Officer at Tigris Financial Partners. S&P futures are down 29 points now. Dow futures down 249. NASDAQ futures lower by 80 points. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Looks like an ugly open for Wall Street this morning amid mounting evidence that the coronavirus is disrupting the world's second largest economy. Many U.S. companies have also suspended at least some of their China operations, and economists have started to cut their growth forecast. Dow futures down almost 200 points. Stocks closed little changed yesterday. Fed Chair Jay Powell said the outbreak of the coronavirus will likely hit the Chinese economy and could spill wider, but it was too early to judge what kind of impact impact it would have on the U.S. economy. Meanwhile, the Fed held interest rates steady as expected and signaled that would be the case for the time being. Facebook's growth is slowing in the U.S. and Canada as it faces more restrictive privacy regulations and continued scrutiny from lawmakers and regulators. Microsoft's quarterly sales beat analyst projections by more than $1 billion, fueled by persistent demand from corporate customers looking to move computing tasks to the cloud. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
This is not a cat. This is not a rocket. And this is not a sale. That's right. At Smarty Mobile, we're not having a sale. While others are slashing prices, we're introducing our best ever new plans. Take our new 30-gig data SIM for just £10 a month. With unlimited calls and texts and no speed restrictions, credit checks or contract tying you down, why shop around? New plans, great value. Now that's Smarty. Grab yours today. Search Smarty Mobile. See smarty.co.uk for terms.
Hello, I'm your captain for today's Virgin Atlantic flight. Please drop everything and pay close attention to the following announcement. The sale is now on. Our crew are ready to take your bags and stresses away. The cocktails are ready to serve, the movies are loaded, and we're all set for takeoff to the Caribbean. So, take your seat in our award-winning economy class. We're ready to go when you are.
The Virgin Atlantic sale. Fly amazing for less. For more details, visit virginatlantic.com.
I think I just be myself, let it come naturally. I never try to, go outside the box.
Super Bowl 54, the biggest game of the year, is live on TuneIn Premium. Be there when the Kansas City Chiefs, dreaming of their first championship in 50 years, collide with the San Francisco 49ers' quest to bring a 6th Lombardi trophy to the Bay Area. Wherever you are when the ball kicks off Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, listen to every electric moment of Super Bowl 54 with the NFL on TuneIn Premium. Search Premium to upgrade today. Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.